Right, welcome to a brand new one wherein we're going to talk about how to authenticate Azure with Terraform, especially when you have multiple subscription. At the end of the video, I have a surprise for you, a tool which going to help you to govern, to manage your Azure in a better way. First thing first, what we're going to do is we're going to go to our resource group and check whether we have a resource group or not. We haven't got any resource group. So what we're going to do is we're going to start creating resource group and we're going to start keeping storage account into the resource group, into the Azure resource group. Without further ado, let's get started. So what we're going to do is we are going to start writing the Terraform code for creating resource group. How we're going to do that? We gonna spin up our terminal, all right, and then we are gonna start writing our Terraform code. That's the first part. The second part is gonna be the authentication. Cool. So let's get started. I've got a main.tf file. So I'm going to start with provider, which is going to be Azure RM. And then we're going to punch in a bunch of information, client ID, client secret, right? And then we've got subscription ID, and then last one is tenant ID. In case you're wondering where you're going to get all of these information, don't worry, I'm going to tell you all about that in a bit. Right, so second thing is we're going to create a resource group. This is going to create a single resource group. However, what I want is I want to create multiple resource group. How do you do that? You start creating a variable. The name of the variable is going to be resource group, all right, and then we're going to start defining the variable. I want to create multiple resource group. Okay, so I'm going to do a list of string because there's going to be multiple resource group. Underneath the default, I'm going to start pass on my resource group rg1, then rg2, right, and then by the way, if you're seeing it's doing an auto completion, it is auto suggesting, not even typing, right? That's the power of GitHub Copilot. I want, let's suppose, 8 resource group, roughly 8 to 10 resource group. Okay, so I'm gonna say colon, and then I'm gonna say rg6, all right, and then colon rg7. You can create as many resource group as you want. Okay, there are multiple other ways also, but for the sake of the demo, I've chosen this one. And for my own sanity, I'm just gonna create 10 resource group. Okay, the variable is ready. Let's just tweak out the name. Before the name, we're gonna use a function called as count. Right, so count gonna tell us gonna length of resource group, length of all of that. So it's gonna count that. Okay, the counts of resource group gonna be 10. Now we're gonna use this count into the name. So it's going to be var dot resource group with whatever the name we have given over here, and then count dot index. This is going to create 10 different resource group. All right, let's add a tag probably also. Okay, environment equals to dev. Cool. Let's make it a little more interesting. Let's probably start creating a storage account also, and I want to keep the storage account into this resource group which we have just created. So it's going to be resource. All right, I don't want virtual network. Okay, I want storage account, resource Azure RM underscore storage account. All right, perfect. Cool. Now we should have, first thing would be count. Okay, so now let's give a name first, storage, right, and then count equals to length of resource group, and then name's going to be var dot resource group. So it's all auto suggesting. I didn't have to do anything. What I'm also, yeah, storage, and then you can start defining the resource group name, right, which is gonna be same, and then location. I'm just gonna use the auto completion standard. There's account replication type also, which is gonna be LRS. Cool, perfect. So if I do a Terraform init, right, it should initialize successfully, but it's gonna error out when I do a plan, and that's where I'm gonna teach you how you can use AZ command to get all of these information, client ID, client secret, and all of that. Okay, Right, so I'm just going to do a plan, and now it's going to say that you haven't put in these details for authentication. Cool. The authentication is not done. So what I'm going to now do is go to my Azure console, all right, and put in a pop up my terminal. So it's gonna load up the Azure Cloud shell, whether I'm gonna start punching in that which subscription I want and start generating all of these information. So first thing first, I'm gonna say AZ account list. All right. Okay, it's still just getting the cloud shell trigger. So whole point is we want to get bunch of information to authenticate Terraform with Azure. Okay, so we want these four information. Just gonna give it few seconds. All right, cool, this is done. So I'm gonna say okay, just gonna clear the screen. Okay, AZ account list. Perfect. So this is going to give me whatever subscription I have. So if you notice, we've got 3 subscription. I want to set to one of these subscription, probably this subscription over here. Okay, so how do I set it? So I say AZ account set, then just gonna hit enter. Okay, I don't know, some bug with UI. Never mind. Can't help. So let's just try to run this again. So it's going to be AZ account, yeah. And I'm going to set the subscription to this one. Once this is done, now we are ready to AZ and then AD. Create the RBAC, and then we're going to say create a contributor role. Scope is that under this subscription, create a contributor role. Okay, I'm going to hit enter, and this is going to give me 4 information or 4 parameter which I'm going to use to authenticate to Azure. Okay, so it's creating the contributor role. Alright, so it has given me 4 different parameters. So I'm going to pick up these parameters and start pasting over here. The first one is the tenant ID. Okay, I'm just going to pick up the tenant ID, put it over here. And then I'm going to pick up the subscription ID. Alright, subscription ID is done. Alright, and then I'm going to pick up the password. And then I'm going to pick up the client ID. Alright, client ID, perfect. Now if I do inet and let it just consume all of these information, and then I'm just gonna do a plan. Alright, now the plan should, this time hopefully it should authenticate and should start picking these information and should be able to speak with Azure. So any resource needs to speak with Azure. So Terraform is now able to speak to Azure, and now you can see it is able to create able to give us that these are the resources it's going to create. Okay, so what I'm going to say is I'm going to say okay, please create, go ahead and create it. That's what I want. Terraform apply, and I'm going to say yes, and hopefully this should create 10 resource group, and it's going to create 10 storage account underneath these 10 resource group. I'm going to say yes. I'm just going to keep my finger crossed so that it creates the infrastructure and doesn't complain about unique name of storage account or those information. If it does, we're going to handle that, because remember always in Azure storage account, or for that matter S3 bucket also in AWS, the name which you've given over here has to be unique across the Azure ecosystem, not only your subscription but the entire ecosystem. So it has, generally we use a random function or something like that, but in this case since you were using count, so we're just expecting that it should just kind of work. But let's see. So it is trying to create the storage account. It is, the resource group creation has been completed. Let's go back to probably the resource group over here, give it a refresh and see if it has. All right, bingo, we have got all the resource group. Just gonna wait for the okay, the name is already taken, that's completely fine, we don't care about it, but we've got most of the resource group created. That's why it is recommended to use some sort of randomness to have a different storage name, because as I mentioned that it has to be unique. How do you do that? Let's probably add a little more spice to our code, how do you generate a random one? So let's say, okay, let's first try to destroy this. Terraform destroy auto approve, and then we'll give a random name to this storage account. Auto, oh, just gonna delete this one and then say just delete all the resources. While this is getting deleted, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start creating a random type of resource group so that we can append this with our storage account. How do you do that? So we use resource, and then we say random string, okay, storage, okay, storage account suffix, perfect. All right, while this is getting already destroyed, so I'm gonna say length of 6. All right, the auto completion or suggestion feature is really cool. Count, okay, so count's gonna length of where dot resource group, okay, and then special character false, upper character false, and then I'm gonna say use a number which is true. Okay, perfect. Use a number which is true. Now we are ready to append this with our storage account. How do you do that? Go to the name section. Okay, this is the name section, and beside the storage, just say random string. That's pretty much all. Random string, count suffix, that's our name, then count dot index dot result. Perfect. I am just gonna give it few seconds so that it just destroys everything. We've done all of this so that the unique name thingy doesn't come back again. So I just gonna let this create. While this is getting created, I'm gonna unleash a product. Super cool product. I've been using it this for quite a few. Okay, I'm just gonna keep the suspense on. Things are destroyed. So what I'm gonna say is, I'm gonna say please apply my changes. Okay, and with these changes I should have again 10 different resource group, 10 different storage account, but this time it's gonna have a unique name because we created this random function, and that's gonna generate random string with length of 6 with no special character, no upper character, only numbers. So that's gonna create a special unique name. Alright, so the resource group is already created. It's gonna create the storage account. While this is created, our expectation is we should have the resource group populating right over here. Right now it is still getting created, the storage account still getting created. Alright, I'll just give it few seconds so that it gets created. Alright, the resources are now created, 30 added, 0 changed, 0 destroyed. Let's go to our Azure Terminal, hit a refresh. Bingo, all of the resource group is created. If you click in any of these resource group, we're going to have a storage account. Alright, the name of the storage account going to be RG storage, and then remember we created a suffix, right? And that's there. Alright, so your infrastructure has grown big now. So I wanted to show you how to authenticate, how to create stuff using infrastructure using Terraform. Now I'm gonna show you a product which is gonna be really helpful when it comes to alright, now your infrastructure has grown really big. How do you manage such infrastructure? Obviously you've got Azure Monitor, you've got Azure Billing, a lot of other information, but I've been really struggling that how do you kind of get everything together at one place. And while doing it, I figured out one tool, Serverless360, a super cool product, very easy to get started with. What it does, it connects with your Azure using all of these credential which we just use, the service principal, client ID, and all of that. Pretty simple to you get started. You get a 14 days trial account to get started with, and it's a governance platform. It's an Azure governance platform where it gets all of the Azure information at one place so that you don't have to go through, click different subscription, filter out stuff, and a lot of other difficulties which you might get while getting information about your Azure resources from different subscription or resource group. How do you get started? I have just gotten started with my free trial for 14 days. So what I've done is, if you go to home, first thing you need to get started is, let's suppose one of the coolest feature is Azure Documenter. Okay, if I go to Azure Documenter, it's gonna, how do you get started? You start punching your information, documenter test probably, all right, and then it's gonna ask you bunch of information. Oops, typo. Next, and it's gonna ask you bunch of information. If you add a new principal, it's gonna ask you for tenant ID, client secret, and the friendly name, which you can always get it right from here, which we've just generated a few seconds back. So it's really easy to get started. I've already done that, so I'm not gonna do it. So if I click on next, I've already got the subscription, so I'm gonna select my subscription. I'm gonna select next time. That's where the magic gets started. So you've got executive summary, you get all the details about your kind of resources which you have spent up, let's suppose last 7 days. That's the executive summary. You get a resource details, all right, comprehensive report on resources and technical details as well, billing details, security complex, cost comparison, and lot many. Let's suppose you want to do an executive summary, all right, and I don't want to get into filters, just give me everything. You have the luxury of either exporting into a PDF document, a Word document. You could put into an Azure storage account or a new storage account as well. Okay, so if you say existing storage account, you could just say okay, just give the storage account name, and that's gonna generate this. If I now click on generated, it's going to start generating it. But by the way, I've already generated a sample report. This is how it looks like. Look how cool this report is. It's going to give you all of the information. It says that okay, you've got the subscription, you've got these many resources. Okay, now let's go through resources one by one. Probably resource type, you've got 11 storage account. Remember, we have got the 11 storage account. We've got these resource group. These are the resource group you have. Underneath each resource group, how many resources you have. Especially beneficial when you want to track what's been created by whom. You get that from where these resources group are getting created. What are the subscription you have? This is the subscription you have, and this is the resource which you have just created, and this is the type. You could do a compliance check also whether the resource group or the storage account which your DevOps engineer or infrastructure engineer has created are compliant or not, whether it's a hot access tier or a cold access tier. Maybe you wanna just allow only cold access tier, so you can go and grab that person and ask him to fix this. You could say check the pricing tier as well. You can check the tags, whether all the tags are there or not. You can check the identity, all right, bunch of other information, and it's gonna give you uh, resource details about each individual resources as well. So this can get really big if you're big infrastructure. However, you could always filter this down and get something more granular or something which you want. Okay, I'm just gonna hit on close. The other feature which I really find interesting is, as an architect or as an engineer, there are there are situation wherein you want to do a diagram. We're going to show depicts what's running inside your Azure. So the diagram feature over here kind of gives you the luxury to just pull in bunch of information from your Azure and start putting it in a piece of as a diagram. So let's suppose I'm gonna say diagram for storage account. All right, I'm gonna hit on next. All right, and then next, and it's gonna filter out all the resources. It's gonna check what are the resources you have, and I'm gonna say create, and this is gonna list down all the resources we have. Okay, we've got pay as you subscription. We've got 10 different resource group. Okay, so right now only we have got a storage account. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just start bringing the storage account. Imagine you have other resources as well, virtual machine, Kubernetes cluster in an actual environment. Okay, I've got all of these uh, storage account. Now I want to probably plot a diagram. Okay, this is how the data flow looks like. The resource goes from one resource group, one storage account, to another storage account like this, and this one goes So you could do a diagram as well, and it, instead of having a fake icon, you could actually start using an actual icon with actual name, and probably export it as a update, and then you could just export it as a PDF or a PNG as well if needed be. So you can edit it always, you can download it as well. So these are just few features of serverless 360. There's tons of other information. I can speak all through the day about this one. However, I'm gonna take a pause over here, and I hope you gonna enjoy using this the tool serverless 360 as much as I have done. If you like the product, give me a like, and drop in your comments so that I can explore. If you want me to explore some of the other features like business application or activity monitoring, I would be happy to do that for you. I hope this was super informative. I'll see you in the next one. Thank you.